snackablementalhealth.ca. Welcome to the show, Suse Silva. We haven't officially met in real life. We're meeting for the first time on Zoom, unless we've seen each other in our travels before in Northumberland County. I've got a holistic mental health support practitioner with me, and I'm very interested in talking with her because yeah, I've kind of been through the ringer over the last, it's my journey started 32 years ago this past summer. So I consider myself a bit of an expert from experience, but I would say I'm a novice in the holistic angle of it. I'm going to read a little bit from your amazing business card, which I picked up at Zach Owen's practice over in Coburg on University Street. And I'm just going to read what it says. I support individuals and corporate teams, mental health and well-being through the healing arts of movement, meditation, breath work, art making, sound, and energy healing. Companies have come to me when they are looking for new ways to support their employees' mental health and well-being to avoid the symptoms of corporate burnout. I help people who have experienced mental health disturbances, from general anxiety and mild depression to those who have been diagnosed with a major mental health illness. With my support, we work towards understanding behaviors and clearing the weird symptoms so they can feel better than normal without solely relying on high doses of medication for the rest of their life. Okay, so we unpacked that now. And I came up with a bunch of questions for you, Suse. And at suesilva.com, by the way, we'll put that in the on the subtitles. You've been on such a unique journey from spiritual emergency to becoming a practitioner. Can you share a little bit about what pulled you in the holistic path?
Yeah, so it's tricky to figure out like where to begin with my story. The holistic approach came, yeah, after my experience with a spiritual emergency, which I ended up being locked up in a hospital for a week and given a bunch of medication to be on and diagnosed with type 1 bipolar disorder and told I would have to be on medication for my whole life, and that, it's a normal thing to have this disorder, and that I would, yeah, just kind of be stuck in the space. And I didn't really like how that sounded. I didn't know what to do with that information. And yeah, afterwards, just didn't have any real support. So this happened when I was living in Toronto. I was an undergrad student studying visual arts, and a lot was happening to me in my life. And I think it was my body processing my upbringing, but also maybe potentially tied to a lot of ancestral trauma that my family has moved through. So, I mean, I
So
didn't know.
ancestral trauma is a new is the new word for hereditary.
Yeah, I suppose hereditary or, yeah, intergenerational wounds.
That's amazing. I've never heard it quoted like that before. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I mean, back then I wouldn't have had these words to put to that, or understanding. But I was just very kind of lost and confused. And one thing that I had been doing was practicing yoga, just at a local gym, and had been doing it since I was a teenager, was introduced to it through a phys ed teacher. And loved it. I grew up dancing, so it felt kind of similar to some of the stretches we did in dance, and just absolutely loved it. And had always considered maybe going into the teaching route with yoga. And 6 months after being hospitalized and diagnosed and having, a year of these um, altered state experiences,
Okay.
I was gifted my first introductory yoga teacher training course from my mom, and it opened the door to what yoga actually is, which is more than just the physical practice that, we see
Absolutely.
glamorized in spaces. So that really was what opened the door to a holistic framework and an Eastern framework of healing. So everything that I do is really informed and inspired by my yoga practice.
Wow. Okay. You just brought up Eastern philosophies. Can I have an opinion on Western versus Eastern models? Or can I ask that of you? And maybe
Yeah.
like you work in both worlds because consider like me as a guilty first worlder, I still haven't adopted everything from Eastern and I'm mostly Western, but I'm very open to anything really that helps me live a more fulfilled life. And you work in both worlds. So, what do you think each does really well, and where do they miss the mark?
Yeah, I mean, the main difference between the Eastern model and the Western model is in the West, we look at the person like a machine. And when something goes wrong, we fix the part. We try to fix the part. In Eastern philosophy or way of seeing things, it they look at the person like a garden. So for a garden to thrive, it requires a lot of things: sunlight, good soil, watering, air quality. So there's a lot of factors that are considered to see why isn't this plant growing or why isn't this garden thriving? And there's multiple parts to the garden. So that is like the easiest way to kind of frame both the Western model, medical model, and then the Eastern way of looking at health in general. Um, and I think where the Eastern approach um, really succeeds is that perspective of looking at multiple things that could be influencing something that seems to be off or
My
not working
garden needs
well.
weeding.
Exactly. Yeah, there's too much shit here. We over manured it. Whatever it might be, right? Like you have to see where things are out of alignment, and why the garden isn't thriving instead of just, fixing, yeah, trying to tape the leaf back onto the plant
Yeah,
because the leaf
try and
fell
maybe
off.
prune it a little bit like a bonsai tree. Oh,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
For someone listening who might be curious but unsure, what's one simple Eastern practice you think that almost anyone could benefit from in their daily routine?
The simplest thing is to that's a good question. I mean, it's all so simple.
Yes,
I find most of it really simple, but the thing that makes it challenging is sticking with it. So one of the things that you can do is to work with your breath. Like it's a tool we have with us at all times that can
breath work.
quickly shift how we're feeling. So something I hear with people all the time is if you're feeling overwhelmed, extend your exhales. So if you can make your exhales longer than your inhales, you bring your nervous system into the parasympathetic nervous system state. So you move from that fight or flight mode into that rest and digest, love and connect state of being. So you
Nice.
can do this simply just by inhaling for a count of 5, exhaling for a count of 7, 8, 10. As long as it's longer than the inhale, you're going to start to bring the body into that rest state. So you're
Brilliant.
immediately resetting the body. So really simple, but often overlooked because we kind of just go into like panic mode
Make
and
it a longer exhale.
a longer exhale.
In your practice, what's one exercise that usually gets the biggest aha moment from clients? Is it breath work?
It's
Is
breath work. The more extended breath work practices that I offer, so if it's a one-on-one deep dive that they're doing with me where we're going in for 2 hours, I'm guiding them through a breath work journey for 2 hours, or it's one of our group breath work events, people get the most ahas out of that. It's one of many healing arts modalities that I offer, but I really love it because people are able to connect with their inner deepest parts of themselves and get that clarity that they're looking for through that practice. And it's not always what they want, but it's always what they need.
I love the word clarity. I'm constantly searching for clarity, lucidity, regulating. I wanted to bring up, this is a very important thing for me, is resilience and the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
What is, other than like, let's bring up breath work again and do like, we'll hit that on the head, regulating the nervous system instead of taking an anti-anxiety medication or or a concentration medication, or like breath work, stretching. What is the best way for folks who don't realize that they are bringing or they are taxing their nervous system? What is the best way you would give, the best teaching you would give to regulate the nervous system?
One of the easiest things we can do to regulate the nervous system is to go out in nature. So we live
Okay.
in beautiful Northumberland County. There's a lot of gorgeous trails here. We're right by Lake Ontario. So spending time in nature is actually one of the quickest ways to regulate your nervous system. And it's not just kind of going out, with our headphones in, like blasting music that we like to
Unplug for a
listen
bit.
to. Unplug completely. So don't even keep your phone on you if you want for safety, but maybe put on do not disturb and try not to look at it. Try not to take any photos either, but just be really present with the sensations in your body as you're in nature, observing what you see in nature, like just watching how the leaves are moving in the wind on a tree. Listen to the sounds of the birds, listen to all the different insects that are around you. If you're by the water, the sound of the water, the sounds of nature, the frequencies of those sounds are therapeutic. Breathing in the smells of nature are therapeutic. All those things are helping to regulate our nervous system. And it's one of the easiest things that we all have access to, that a lot of us, frankly, aren't utilizing. And it's free. And we can go and just be in nature to completely reset and to start to build that resilience in a
I love
very
that you brought
accessible
up
way.
I love that you brought up that going and visiting nature is free. Like, absolutely, go and take your shoes off, walk on the beach for a little while, even in the autumn.
Hmm.
Nature is free. I just love the beauty of nature and the fact and how calming it actually is to the mind. So, like, it's saying that it regulates the central nervous system is something I'm definitely going to constantly turn into a mantra for myself.
Hmm.
I was up doing a poetry gig in Toronto, and I had the whole crowd chanting central nervous system just so I wouldn't freeze.
Well,
Um,
that's a great point too. Chanting is another thing that is really calming and
Mantra,
regulating. Yeah,
yeah,
mantra work.
either in your head or even out loud.
Yes, exactly. So a really good way to bring the body back. One thing that I teach my clients too, it's a really simple one that I love to like teach you and whoever's listening is using mudras as well. So mudras are the hand gestures in yoga, but you can use your fingers and your hands to help ground you as well while working with a mantra. So one that I really like that I come back to is peace. I bring my index and thumb together. Then my middle finger and thumb begins. Then my ring finger and thumb with pinky finger and thumb, me. Peace begins with me. And I'll repeat that over and over again while moving my fingers per word. Peace begins with me. Peace
Peace
begins
begins
with
with
me.
me.
And you can do that out loud. And then as you're chanting it, you can go silent, but keep moving your hands to each word while you do it silently. And then you can whisper it as well.
Nice. I'm gonna start doing that in doctors' offices. just to
Yes.
just to freak people out.
Do it. I
Um,
challenge you.
exactly. So much. Like this is wonderful. And we are around our bite-sized time, but I've still got a few things to talk about. I've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks now. Sometimes people get spooked by words like energy or spiritual healing. How do you explain these concepts in a way that feels grounded and not so airy fairy? I get like that. When I start talking, people are like, that's something I don't want to reach out for just yet.
Yeah, and I'm still working at how to share these things that are a huge part of the work that I do and the life that I live,
Absolutely.
without scaring people off. So I am to also try to explain it in a way that is very grounded. To me, it's really about connecting deeply with your own intuition. Spirituality to me, it has nothing to do with religion, although you can pull from religions if that's something that resonates with you, sure, why not? But it's about using whatever tools you enjoy using, whatever works for you, but really starting to just understand what is a yes for you and what's a no for you. I think that's the easiest way to kind of explain that piece, the spiritual piece. It's about feeling deeply connected to your life, being alive, to being a part of this earth and a
The
part of
miracle that is
nature.
our yeah, the miracle that is our day-to-day existence that we off very often as a populace really have gotten away from. We're so
Yeah,
sucked into our lives that we've forgotten that we're even alive, and what a miracle it is to even to be able to do what it is that we do every day, even if we have a shit day or we have a wonderful day. It's all a living waking miracle, and it doesn't require religion or entertainment or anything. It's just, wow, look at this, I'm alive again, I get to experience another day on the planet. It's not that easy. Consciousness isn't easy. But for me, when I wake up in the morning, even when I know it's going to be a hard day, I'm like, this is a living, waking miracle that I'm dealing with. And I'm happy.
yeah. And it's a gift to just be able to experience all of the things that we get to experience. Like that, I think that is what living is just
Animals and nature really.
breathing and being.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, nature reminds us of that. Absolutely.
Do you find younger generations are more open to holistic practices than older people?
I've mostly worked with older generations and people. Um, so it's interesting that that's one of your questions because I haven't been like younger people haven't reached out to me. Um, and maybe they are more open. I mean, I'm definitely much more open than my parents are, but my parents were also like very like have not gone to therapy and have not considered doing any type of healing or holistic approach to living their life. So yeah, so it's hard to say. Maybe yes, maybe because there's more information now about it too. It's a little bit more accessible. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Right. So yeah, this is pretty cool. You facilitated programs at places like Bellwoods Health Services, which I don't know much about, and Fred Victor. What did you learn about working with people in vulnerable transitions from these experiences? Working with
Mm,
the vulnerable sector can be a little trying sometimes because what you bring might be upsetting, or my in my opinion, in my education of working with the vulnerable sector, you just have to be careful of what you say, what you do, whether they're the younger crowd, the younger generation, or senior citizens. Seniors are also considered the vulnerable sector. Um, yeah, what did you learn about working with people in that?
so in those environments, so Bellwoods Health Services, what I was doing there was, and both
Where is Bellwood
places,
again?
it's in Toronto. So it's a rehabilitation center for people with PTSD. So they go
Oh
and live
wow, okay.
there. They live there for a while until, yeah, they're ready to kind of um, yeah, moved to the outpatient kind of approach. But anyways, I was there teaching trauma informed yoga, same at Fred Victor. And
Trauma informed yoga. I'm
so the
very interested.
great thing about that is that we actually don't talk. So, and what I say about my approach to healing is that it's the best alternative to talk therapy because we're actually not really talking about anything
I love it.
because we don't need to constantly be bringing up these triggers and past memories because often that just kind of gets stuck cognitively on a loop and nothing actually gets resolved. So when we go straight into the body with these experiential practices like trauma informed yoga or breath work, we're actually just working with the body. So we don't have to speak. So I didn't really speak besides guiding people through specific postures and movements and breath techniques. And when I was guiding at Bellwoods, it was incredible. So it was my first time. It was right after I did my trauma informed yoga teacher training. I had already been teaching yoga for some time, but this was an opportunity to put what I learned, to use right away. And I was quite young at the time. I was in my early 20s and was a little like intimidated because it was a bunch of first responders and people from the military, and they were all these large men. And I'm a very small, petite young woman at the time, and was like, oh my gosh, like, are they going to take me seriously? Are they even going to be wanting to do this? And for them, they just had that hour. They had the choice to show up, to come to the yoga or not.
Yeah, it's an elective.
And yeah, and they came, they would come. I was guiding them twice a week, for 3 months, and they didn't say anything to me. They would just come, go to their mat, do the practice, and leave. And at the end of the 3 months, every single person that I taught came up to me and they were like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I got the most out of this, out of everything that was offered here. This really helped me connect deeper with myself. And I feel like that piece that was broken or lost or gone has been found and reconnected with." So it was just a part within them that they were able to reconnect with. And these really tough looking dudes were crying during the sessions, they were having the
Wow.
emotional releases. But again, we weren't communicating. It was, I would tell them, like, this is a natural part, let things come out as they need to. And I'm here if you do want to discuss anything, you're more than welcome to, or, talk about this with the counselors that you see here. And
What a success.
it was incredible. And that's really what inspired the work that I do now. One of the many things. But about 4 years ago, when I moved out here from Toronto, I was in this kind of liminal space of like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Like, yes, I've been teaching at yoga studios and corporate gigs and all of these things and putting these skills to use. But I'm like, I really want to work with people in a more transformational way because I love seeing transformation.
That's a great
And
word.
yeah, and it's the most rewarding for me. And anyways, I was just kind of in this liminal space, staring at the window, looking at the trees, and what dropped in, the idea, the inspiration, I say that it was spirit speaking to me, but I just kept on hearing, show people how you healed yourself. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. And I just kept on hearing that for weeks. Show people how you healed yourself. Show people how you healed yourself. And then a few weeks, like maybe 2 weeks later, I found a business coach and connected with her, and then really started to build out the framework of my own business. So instead of just kind of doing contract work here and there, I developed my 12-week mentorship program, No More Mind Games. And that's really where I utilize and put everything that I've learned, the big aha moments in my own healing journey, into this program. So each week we're exploring a different theme. So
I
navigating
love
negative
I
self-talk.
love, yeah, this is amazing. No more mind games.
Hmm.
And we're always playing mind games with ourselves. Uh,
Absolutely.
and is this working? Is this not working? Yeah, no more mind games. Is that on SuseSilva.com?
It is. Yeah. It's under mental health support.
Okay, wicked.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're cruising here today. What's your go-to daily ritual that helps you stay centered, like using no more mind games as a mantra?
Yeah, so I have lots of different rituals, and throughout the years, I've been able to really just learn to listen to what my body needs on a given day. And that has taken years of practice. And I don't always get it right, but I'm getting better at listening and listening to what my needs are in kind of each and every moment. So my day to day looks quite different. But there's kind of like a similar general flow. So the main, I guess, ritual, like I shared before, is getting outside, being in nature. I try to get
Yes,
out
a
and go
main
for a
component.
walk. Yeah,
Yeah.
I try to go for a walk every day because I find if I work from home a lot too.
Mm.
So if I'm just like in the house, and even though I'm surrounded by nature, I live in the forest, so I can see out my windows, which is beautiful. But unless I'm outside, I'm not actually getting that therapeutic
I hear you. I
peace.
get the heebie-jeebies quite often. The
Yeah,
heebie.
cabin fever.
Yes, absolutely. Getting
hmm
out to nature again. Breath work. No more mind games. We're hitting on a lot of really cool stuff. Um, okay, so yeah, where do you derive the best joy in working with your clients when you're successful? How does that feel?
It feels incredible. And I feel so privileged to have been able to transform my experiences that were like, from the medical perspective, having the altered state experiences that I had, those were demonized and I was told that that was like a bad thing, that I shouldn't be experiencing these things. And I have actually learned how to work with those gifts. And I actually see them as a
Yes.
superpower and as something that I can bring to the work that I do in supporting other people. So my intuitive skills and abilities are much more refined than ever before, and I am able to actually help people through it, and that feels like a huge privilege in this Western world that we live in. And through my research and study on, mental health and a lot of the things that, people like you and me who have these kind of like out of the box experiences, we could call them, or altered state experiences, they are seen as gifts in a lot of tribal communities, and they are often the shamans of the communities. And we are meant to be the ones to have that insight to what is happening in the world and how to actually help support people through it. So that is my own belief and understanding of why I've experienced what I've experienced. Yes, it is through my family line, and I'm here to kind of heal a lot of that too, which I have. And yeah, it just feels like a gift to be able to kind of teeter between both worlds. So I can
Yes, to
still
walk in
function.
both worlds at the same time.
Yeah, I can function within this agreed upon reality that the majority of us are living in, but I can also tap into
I
the
like that one. I'm going
wisdom.
to write that down. Agreed upon reality. Yes,
Yes. But I
absolutely.
can I can still tap into the other world where there is a lot of wisdom and insight to what is actually happening on like the background of everything, right? Because it's so confusing. This world that we live in is filled with information to the brim where it just becomes noise and it's hard to
Oh, I hear
filter
you.
out everything that is coming at us and where to kind of like ground ourselves so we can, yeah, tune in, connect, and be able to relate and share what is needed for our upliftment. I don't know. I don't really know where we're going. I don't have all of the answers,
I
but
don't. I don't know if I haven't met anybody yet who has all. I've met people that seem to have all the answers, but they're just as confused as we are.
yeah.
Um, but like I think we're on the right path with an integration of Eastern mixing with Western. The pharmaceutical model, the psychiatric model. Psychiatry is more black and white. There's no gray areas. They don't believe in things like magical realism, or even though it's in the DSM-6. Is it six? No, it's only five yet. They're working on six though. Magic realism, magical thinking, telepathy, intuitiveness. Empathy is a big one these days. It has become a buzzword in social talks. And my thing about empathy, Suze, is that it doesn't always have to feel like you're experiencing someone's pain. You can actually beam for them. It's kind of like watching your favorite sports team win. That's a really big positive form of empathy to a point. I mean, I don't have to paint my face and wear a Blue Jays outfit every time there's a game on, but yeah, having a sports team, or having a musician that you love, or the music that you love, or an actor or an artist in any kind of medium. That's a form of empathy as well. Use it as, yeah, there's so much out there that, walking in both worlds provides to people like us. It's not easy, because we sometimes end up, you know, institutionalized for a couple of weeks, or strapped to a bed because we can't cope. Yeah. So this brings me to one of my last questions, Suze. If you could redesign, and I've got a whole diatribe of writing and talk about this, if you could redesign the mental health system in Canada tomorrow, what would it look like?
Yeah,
That's a
another good
pretty big
question.
question. Yeah,
It's
that's
big.
loaded. There's lots there.
It needs a full dismantling. I think the only thing that I can think of that is slightly therapeutic about the mental health care system, or, being hospitalized if you've experienced any kind of mental health challenge, is that you have a space to go to where you are being quote unquote looked after,
Observed.
observed. But the way that it's being done is not therapeutic right now. It's actually creating more harm than good. And this is from my own personal experience. Being hospitalized was one of the most traumatic things that I've ever experienced.
I'm right with you.
And it's only made me more um, just fearful for anyone that has to go through that. It's not consensual. There's so much that is forced upon you. The way that they move your body, like my body was physically moved without my awareness. I was completely, um, tranquilized and knocked out. So my body wasn't like, I wasn't awake, and my body was moved from one location to another. So I have no idea what happened, which still freaks me out. And I definitely have some weird memories that I don't even
I'm
know if
I'm
they're
I'm running
real or
with you
not.
on that. I've got stories like that, so, right along the same path. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Where I was and where I am now, and am I ever going to, you know, is repair even a word in this whole thing? Is healing
I
even a word?
know.
I found that, with the noise when I was in hospital, the noise was a little quieter for me. Um,
Okay.
but that was probably the only thing, other than, it felt like a prison, and it shouldn't be a prison, but it is. And then there's all that paperwork, and when am I getting out, and how many more days do I have to be in here, and what are you putting into my body right now as far as pharmaceuticals goes? I'd like to know. I mean,
Yeah.
some people, people without the pharmaceutical model inside them, they don't even know what medications they're on for their physical body. And
Yeah.
I've always been very, I've got to take this for this reason. I've got to take this for this reason. And it started, I started with about for the first 2 years of my diagnosis, I had maybe I was challenged to take about or sample about a dozen different types of medications. And
Wow.
I was a zombie with tardive dyskinesia and drooling and twitching and very tired. I couldn't accomplish anything. I was a zombie for probably 18 months. And then the funny thing is, I lucked out, and I managed to find a medication that they were happy with, I was happy with, and then I started really researching the Buddhist models, the meditation aspects, the Suse Silva aspects of life. And I
Mm-hmm.
really think that you've got something here that the Western model could learn from. And I would say there's not a lot of Suse Silvas out there yet, but
Yet.
we're
Yeah.
starting with something. And this is exactly where I wanted to go with snackable mental health. I wanted to talk about the embattled Eastern versus Western and how it shouldn't be a versus. It should be both styles mixed together, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, the Canadian mental health system, when I was in 1993, it's even hard to remember now. I was just a lost 20-year-old kid that was very popular in school, very physically healthy, had tons of friends, tons of support, and I just went off the rails and it ended up being a part of the system. So these days, it seems a little bit easier. I haven't been into a psych ward or anything like that for such a long time. I was at Homewood Health Center in Guelph for 3 months, and they squared me away, Suze. It was amazing how the healing aspect that rehabilitation has if you're willing to change. And they had
Mm-hmm.
things like yoga and meditation, and I love trauma based. I love yoga without talking. That's just an incredible thing. But other things like the program, AA, NA, SA, Overeaters, Gamblers Anonymous, those little programs are almost like little religions uh, in in fact that work for a lot of people, and religion itself does work for some people. I'm choosing to dip into so many different pots that I'm more of a theologian, and I'm very spiritual, and I'm also very grounded most of the time. um, so yeah, I'm so excited to have finally met you and talked to you. And let's end with let's try and end with a pretty cool piece of advice that you might give to someone listening who is right now in the middle of their own crisis or spiritual emergency. That's
Mm.
a pretty big one too.
That's a big one. And I'm going to come right back to something that I've mentioned multiple times now. Go in nature and hug a tree and make your
Yes,
exhales longer than your inhales. If that's
I
the
almost
only
forgot
thing you
about the
take
longer
away,
exhales. Yeah,
if that's the only thing you take away from this, like go in nature, sit, like do whatever you want. Stand, sit, hug a tree, lean against a tree, whatever, and extend your exhales. And it's hard to remember that when we're in crisis. But just if you can find a spot in nature where you can be alone, and be
even
with
for
yourself,
unplug for 10 minutes,
it's
you
so
might
good.
reset. You might reset.
You might
You will
reset.
reset.
Hmm.
Okay, Suze, would you be happy to come on in another 6 months?
Oh, I'd love to. This was a great chat. I'd love to chat with you more.
All right, we'll be in touch. Snackablementalhealth.ca, SueSilva.com. We're going to have you back. Holistic mental health approach to daily living in this walking in both worlds environment. Thank you so much, Suze.
Thank
One
you.
love.